Welcome to the show, and I'm your host, Kaye Liautaud. I was watching the Karate Kid movie from the 80s, and watching that film again brought back so many memories of me wanting to learn how to break boards and paint up and down, just so I could learn how to throw a punch to my bullies. But of course, I was a child when I had those fantasies. And as I got older, I learned that karate actually teaches you the opposite. It's not about going out to hurt your offenders. As a matter of fact, it teaches you to learn how to diffuse a fight. It takes a lot of wisdom and patience to diffuse an altercation to avoid getting into a fight in the first place. So to use physical defense is actually a last resort, which can still be used. And so I decided to take up karate for myself during the year. And I wanted to give myself some more self-discipline, self-respect, self-confidence. And it's really been helping me. But coming up on today's episode, it's going to be a very special one because I am honored to be able to speak with Shihan Grant Campbell. He's going to share his expertise in the area of martial arts. So stay tuned for that. I am honored to welcome and present Shihan Grant Campbell.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, it's an honor to have you here today. Welcome.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So we're going to get into the best part of it all, the interview. We're going to ask some questions and really get to know more about your legacy.
Thank you.
So you started martial arts due to bullying.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really prompted your training. I wanted to know if you could share some advice with people on how they can deal with bullying and how martial arts helped you with that as well.
Great question. I think bullying is something that people often underrate. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that can happen with bullying is it can change the personality of a person. It can make them more inhibited. Creating an environment where children can discuss things that have happened, discuss events, that's important. It's important to do that at home first. It's also important in schools to have a resource for children that are being bullied. Martial art helped me because it empowered me. And because it empowered me, it made me want to give back because I know what it's like to feel completely helpless. I know what it's like to have 8 people against you.
Oh my goodness.
Right, as a kid, you know what I mean? And these kind of things led to my parents putting me in martial art because, obviously I can't really describe how important it is for people to ensure the safety of children and to ensure that children feel a sense of security with their activities and things like that.
Would you say martial arts is something that every child, whether they're being bullied or not, can benefit from?
100%. I think the non-physical value of martial arts is beneficial to all people, really. Self-defense. I think the world is not getting less violent, it's becoming more violent. Yeah. Having an extra set of reflexes and strength due to training is always beneficial to everyone at any age. Non-tangibles like self-discipline, self-determination, goal setting, those are the kinds of things that people will learn and they can take into anything that they do. And that's only when martial art is taught properly.
There are a lot of people out there who have a misconception about martial arts where they think, oh, karate, my kid is going to go out and just hurt somebody. And of course we know that's really not the purpose of martial arts. If you have a kid who wants to go into karate, oh yeah, I'm going to beat people up after school. That kid is going to learn really quick from their Shihan not to do that. But, let's say for those kids who may feel like they're not ready to go into an art form that requires physicality. Your mother was a librarian. In what way do you think books can help children, and how did it help you growing up?
Well, I emphasize both to my students and people that I'm in contact with, the importance of reading and the importance of not just reading anything, but making sure that you're reading things from valid sources.
Yeah.
Reading provides you with mental stimulation. It also provides you with the insight of the author. If the author is an accomplished person, whether it's a biography, whether it's something that gives a little detail on the field, it's valuable, especially as a beginner, to read the writings of people that have a significant contribution to make.
Yeah. In the book, The Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, his rules for learning military science is very similar to the ideas of Bruce Lee when he had defined Jeet Kune Do. So is Musashi the founder of Jeet Kune Do?
Well, no. Bruce Lee, a lot of people aren't aware, Bruce Lee was a student of philosophy. Matter of fact, at university in Washington, he was a philosophical major, and he studied the writings of Sun Tzu, Musashi Miyamoto, things like that. But there are certain principles that are kind of universal principles of combat. He drew from a lot of those in his creation of Jeet Kune Do. So his interpretation of fighting principles is his own unique method based on his experiences. And it's wonderful.
Should a student learn multiple martial arts, or should they learn to just master one and stick to one?
Great question, another great question. I think that the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, applies. When you are establishing a foundation, let's use language as an example. If I want to learn Spanish, and I start out learning Spanish, and then I start doing Italian, and then I start doing French, how proficient am I going to be in my Spanish if my attention is divided in that way? However, if I learn and develop complete proficiency with Spanish, it may be easier for me to relate to Italian. Italian may come a little bit easier. Some things may come a little bit easier. In martial art, it's very much like that, where if you achieve a certain level of proficiency in one art, it becomes a bit more easy, depending on what the second art is, for you to understand how to study the next art, and it develops from there. So I would recommend developing proficiency in one. And proficiency is not something that's self-declared. It's something that I learned. Black belt level means you have an understanding of the fundamentals of the art that you're studying. It doesn't mean you're a master at all. It means that now you can begin advanced study. Now you know the fundamentals of that art. So I would recommend a person practice until at least the black belt level in a particular discipline, and then if they need to or they feel they would like to supplement it, I think that would be the appropriate time.
Do you think racism has affected martial arts in any way?
Absolutely. I think limited thinking, I think a lack of education, I think stereotypes have affected not just martial art, but many endeavors. Preconceived ideas have plagued the martial art for many years. There were times when people would not be acknowledged as having a certain level of skill, even when that skill was demonstrated, simply because of either the color of their skin or the nationality that they come from, things like that. But when you have people that are more enlightened and people that are being more honest with their evaluations and methods, they will acknowledge those that have actually achieved a certain level without it interfering. Racism has actually led to the formation of different systems and styles, because there are times when people will feel like they're not being treated fairly, or they'll feel as though they have reached a point where they can't go any further, and they will break away and form another system and things like that. And usually that's the result of frictions that could have been avoided through proper communication and right attitude. Yeah.
I know during the time that you spent training in Japan, it wasn't common for a black person to be accepted as much as you were. Why do you think that was?
Well, as far as being accepted, I think when most Japanese in Japan saw minority people, particularly in Okinawa, the immediate assumption was that they were associated with the military. And while the military presence in Japan has been very heavy since World War II, it is not always well received. There are a lot of preconceived ideas that follow that. So there are times when bad behavior has led to local citizens in a certain country feeling that, oh, this is another military guy. He's only here for a short time. He's going to cause a disturbance, or he's part of that problem. And in Okinawa, there have been problems like that. So that can create a little bit of a stigma. But fortunately, when you endure and you make an effort to show that you are not a part of the problem, you're more interested in being part of the solution, you can overcome things like that. And that's what I did.
Were there any changes to your diet and maybe your lifestyle while you spent time in Japan that was completely different from being in America?
Oh, sure, sure. The average diet there is very, very, let's call it a little more holistic.
Okay.
And there's less
okay.
emphasis on some of the processed foods and things like that.
Okay.
For the last 35 years or so, my diet consisted mainly of fish and chicken and a lot of vegetables and things like that. However, most recently, I eliminated a lot of meat from diet, that kind of thing, and there was no other motivation other than just living in harmony with my own beliefs, as far as that's concerned.
Is there anything that you think people can do nowadays to maybe improve their lifestyle and their health from what you've learned?
100%. I think taking an active role in your own health is going to be the first step. Learning what your family history is. Learning what you can do to offset some of the food-related illnesses. For example, eliminating white sugar, white flour, eliminating processed foods. These are just general principles. And then going into more specifics according to your needs. I would recommend that.
Okay. What are some of the different types of martial arts or the different types of karate? Can you elaborate on that and just make it a bit more clear to our audience who may not understand?
Sure. As far as karate goes, I believe that real karate is a principle-based martial art. You have different styles that evolve because there are different teachers with different interpretations, but the principles don't change. So, for example, how we generate power, being able to generate whole body power, understanding how to divert an attack, and principles of targeting, that kind of thing, they don't change regardless of style. But there are many different styles, but as you study, you kind of eliminate the concept of style and work more on principle-based practice.
Do you have a preference for a particular style of karate, or one that you focused on most?
I would say that I prefer more the original teachings.
Okay.
So Okinawan karate is more where my interest has been for decades. There are sport-based systems that are fun to play with and to test your skills. But for me, all my questions are basically answered within the context of a traditional martial art. Yeah.
I started to take up Shotokan, as a matter of fact, this year, and I trained with a friend of yours, Shihan Grant.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
in Queens Village. Yes. So it was an honor to learn from him.
Oh, yes. He's very, very, very competent teacher. Yeah.
But I learned about him from you. So that's how our lovely director and producer of the show, he trained with Shihan Grant Campbell, and so he encouraged me to learn martial arts. I was going back and forth between whether I wanted to do Muay Thai or Shotokan, which I take interest in both, but because Ashgar was closer to me, to where I live, I decided to train from him and learn Shotokan, which our producer Dwayne had suggested.
That's important. You know, proximity to your dojo is going to be important, because if you can't make classes regularly, it's going to affect your progress. So that was
It
good
feels
choice.
like home.
Yeah, very good.
It definitely feels like home.
Very good.
So you're a karate purist, from what I can tell. How can misinformation stop being spread about the art form?
I think through discussions with people that are established. What you're doing, presenting a podcast, having
Talk show.
different. I'm sorry.
It's a talk show,
A
not a
talk show.
podcast.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But having the opportunity to have discussion with people that are established in the field will eliminate misconception, because there are a lot of problems that come when something becomes popular, not just martial art, but anything. When it becomes popular, everybody and his brother has an opinion about it. Many people start to represent that they're teachers of it or have skill in it. It doesn't matter what field we're talking about. So it's important to get the information from a valid source.
Why don't we see more high-level karate practitioners in MMA organizations such as the UFC?
Well, I personally believe that the majority of traditional karate practitioners just have a different set of goals and perspectives than some of the MMA athletes. MMA is a growing sport. It's exciting in many ways, but sometimes the goal of MMA and the direction that it's going is a little bit different than traditional karate. So I think many traditional karate people are not as interested in supporting that. There have been episodes of really bad behavior and things like that.
What, the trash talking,
you know,
the competition.
Exactly,
It's
and
entertainment.
that kind of thing. So a lot of the traditional martial artists kind of shy away from that kind of thing, and the advertisements of different types and things like that.
And I can understand that.
Yeah.
Probably because a level of respect needs to be held for the art form of karate. But I gotta say, UFC is good entertainment. I mean, at least for me anyway. I don't mind watching it and laughing at an insult here or there. But that's TV for you. That's entertainment.
Absolutely. But another aspect of it is when you have kids involved in, and you have people that are becoming role models for kids.
Okay.
It's important to be aware that there are many sets of eyes watching you, and the behavior that you set forth is influential, to say the least.
I can understand that. I want to know about your views on Oriental Medicine. Ginshin's book claims that most ailments can actually be cured through karate movements. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's been proven that exercise is beneficial, and I think Funakoshi Sensei was trying to impart that karate training can be healthful throughout your life. It encourages wide range of motion of the joints. It encourages development of posture. It encourages muscle development that's appropriate for individuals. So I think that's what Funakoshi was basically indicating that is useful about martial art training, karate specifically. Oriental medicine, I think, is a great alternative practice. I think there are certain situations that modern Western medicine is absolutely appropriate for. So I think a combination of the two approaches is very, very effective.
Well, Shihan Campbell, you are certainly leaving behind, which I think is an incredible legacy for those to follow after you. I always like to ask, do you have any family members that may have taken after you or probably walking into your footsteps?
I think my children are, as well as my students, are my greatest joy. And I think The most important thing to me is that they become well-adjusted people in society. So in that aspect, yes, I have many representatives and many people that have benefited from the training and are going out into the world doing effective things. So.
Is there any advice that you'd like to give to our audience today about martial arts, or any words of wisdom that you'd like to share with us?
I think one thing that I've learned throughout my journey is an expression called Shin, beginner's mind. Shoshin wasaru bekarasu. Do not forget your original intention. That means if you set out on the study of martial art, or you set out on the study of an academic subject, or you set out to achieve something, don't get distracted, don't lose focus, don't allow boredom to come in. Continue to develop your approach, refine your approach, develop your approach so that you can achieve your goal, and you'll be successful in any endeavor.
I think it was a great choice to have you on the show here today.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here, and I love the work you're doing.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere yet, because coming up next, Shihan Campbell is going to show me a thing or two about karate. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back. I have Shihan Grant Campbell still here with us, and he is going to show me... What are you going to show me today? Tell everybody what you're going to show me.
Okay, no more talk. We're going to have some application. So in this, what I want you to do is I want you to focus your energy on the palm of your hand.
Okay.
Because if we had more time, I'd show you how to use your fist, but in an untrained person or someone that has just begun the study, we're going to use the palm of the hand, and we're going to use it in a self-defense capacity. So using the palm of your hand, I want you to strike my hand just nice and easy. Go ahead and do it. Yes, let's bow. Okay. And just take a strike. Good. Do it again.
Harder?
Mm-hmm. You can do it a little harder. Okay, very good.
I didn't want to hurt you.
Oh, don't worry, I can take it. I've been hit a few times. Now, on this one, I'm going to introduce you to a board. All I want you to do with this is do the same thing, but instead of stopping right here at the board, I want you to imagine going beyond the board.
Okay.
Okay, now, I know you're concerned about hurting your hand or that you're not going to be able to do it. That's called a limitation. If you start with that kind of thinking, you won't release the power that you have. So don't focus on the board. Focus on doing the technique the same way. A real teacher is not going to have you do something that you're not ready for. So.
I must tell you, I've never broken a board before, so I'm a little intimidated by the board.
Okay, that's just fear of the unknown. We all have times when we're going into a new study, a new field, a new job. We don't know what to expect. She doesn't know what to expect, but this is where trust comes in. So you're going to do exactly the same thing. Now, I'd like you to make your fighting stance. There you go. Now, you're going to do the same thing. All I want you to do is exhale when you do it and say the word "ya." Like, give me a nice "ya" right now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
A little stronger than that.
Yeah.
There we go. Now, the same time you execute that technique, I want you to hit this.
Yeah might sound nicer if I actually break it.
Yes. Ready? Relax. Okay. When you're ready.
Yeah!
There you have it. Did you think you could do that?
No.
That's called a limitation. What does that say right there?
You wrote on the back of the board for me. Show everybody the back of that board.
That's a great metaphor for breaking through limitations. Not having belief in your own abilities is the #1 reason people fail. She was able to break the board because she applied her energy correctly on the right spot. The minute you think that you can't do something, you prevent your body and your mind from accessing the power that's inside you to be able to do whatever it is you're trying to do. So you're holding back. What we want to make sure that you do, or you learn from this little metaphor, is releasing the power within. Don't give yourself the self-talk that leads to stopping progress. Very good.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Os.
Us. Very good. Good.
If you don't know USA Karate, you don't know what karate can be. Our chief instructor, Shihan Grant Campbell, is a world champion with over 40 years experience. USA Karate, elevating martial arts to a new level. Visit us today at karatehollywood.com to start your journey.
Stay tuned because we have Kaye's thoughts coming up next. You wanted to get me with that. Welcome to Kaye's Thoughts. I was thinking about the conversation that I had with Shihan Grant Campbell earlier. And one of the things that he taught me that stood out was a term called Shin, which is to have the beginner's mind. So when you take up a new skill or you want to learn a new craft, when you have that beginner's mindset, your mind is always open to receiving that new information. For example, somebody can go for their black belt, but how do you get to that black belt? You have to be open to receiving that new information, that willingness to always learn. I think I experienced Shin when Shihan Campbell had taught me how to break that board, which I didn't think I could break, I didn't want to break, but I was open to receiving that information. So what I want you all to do is to practice Shin. Thank you so much for watching the Kaye Liautaud Show. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram at the.kayeliautaud.show.